Of some minutes from previous meetings, looking for committee of the whole minutes from July the 16th, regular open minutes from July the 16th, and special open minutes from July the 26th. Is there any input into those minutes? Hearing none, they will be adopted by consensus. We have an item here looking at business arising from prior minutes. There would be resolutions from an in-camera meeting held on July the 26th. Councillor Plante, please.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. As a result of the in-camera meeting held on July 26th, and with support from Council and verbal legal advice, I am withdrawing my declaration of conflict of interest in all matters related to the Fire Department operations. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So that would be a clarification from a previous issue, and Councillor Plante is no longer going to be in conflict of interest on fire hall issues, and that had the support of Council. The next item up would be any late items. Is there any late items to be added to the agenda? None. Okay, thank you. Bringing us to delegations, and we have Andrew Allin of One Technology.
The two from this morning.
Oh. Okay, no, yeah, electoral area, yeah. And the Fortis. That was a letter?
Yes.
Both?
Yeah, both letters.
Okay. You going to address
I'll
that?
speak to
okay.
Fortis, yes.
Okay. Thank you. A little bit of a misfire there. So we're going to go back and have that added to the agenda. Both items, one was the electoral boundary being proposed federally, and the other one is the Fortis letter on as they go for their smart metering. So they will come up under business. Let me just get my agenda going here. Under, well, I guess they'll come up under business. We'll make them 7 and 8. Thank you. A motion to adopt the agenda as corrected. Councillor Plante, McCourtough, all in favor? Carried. Going now to delegations. Actually, there's one more addition that I have. Under correspondence. No, I'll put this item, this would be a letter to the IJC, the International Joint Commission. It has to be on this meeting because I think they close for input on the end of August. So this is a letter that I'm asking permission to send under the mayor's name to the IJC, looking for some further input into their Border Boundary Waters Treaty Act. So I will put that as item 9. Okay, now we'll go to delegations. That's what happens when you take skip one meeting at the 1st of August here. Everything ends up in a shambles. Delegations, Andrew Allin of One Technology on broadband internet services in Osoyoos.
Mayor Wells, Council, thanks for having me. So a little background on myself. I own and operate a technology firm here in the Okanagan Valley. I have a fair amount of experience with economic development in the technology industry. As founding president of the Okanagan High Tech Council, as well as OzTech, which is now Accelerate Okanagan. During my, I think, 7 or 8 years as president of one of the two organizations, we spent the majority of our energy either doing one of two things, making the organizations that existed better, or trying to attract technology firms to the Okanagan. So I spoke to Mayor Wells, I guess in July, about the internet access here in Osoyoos specifically, and I kind of wanted to look at the issue at hand. Is that the broadband internet that we have here, as well as in Oliver, pretty much anywhere south of Okanagan Falls, is just not up to standards. I think we all recall that I think it was Chrétien's period of time where he promised us last mile access for internet to all the communities, regardless of how rural or urban we are. I feel that similar municipalities, even here in the Okanagan, have a competitive advantage over Osoyoos because they have the ability to offer high-speed broadband internet. Again, it's a bit of a cornerstone, you know, fresh water, power, you know, things that we need to run a business. It has become one of the things that are required, not only to have access to the world, but also to have to be able to publish your products. Where many products are developed and published, you know, whether it's web hosting or cloud-based computing, or just distribution of drawings or designs or things. I think you'll find the municipal staff here are probably a good example of what an organization who chose to move to Osoyoos would struggle with. Can we just flip a couple of slides in? There's sort of 4 factors to broadband internet. The first being download speeds. What is with the download speed? If you were an engineer who decided to set up shop here in Osoyoos and someone wanted to send me a drawing that I needed to work on, they'd have to download that drawing. So how long would it take to download that drawing into my computer here in Osoyoos? Now, normally download speeds are quite high. You know, we mostly draw from the internet. We don't usually give content to the internet. You know, we send an email, we upload a file, but for the most part we're surfing. We're pulling down documents, we're pulling down pictures, music, whatever. So the next piece, though, is once our engineer has done his work, then he needs to upload it or send it back to his client with the revisions he's done to that drawing. So that's where the upload speed comes from. The next is ping times and routing. A little more complicated than that. It's sort of how long it takes for someone to get back to you. If I left a message with one person, how long would it take for them to get back to me? So ping time, the slower that, or the smaller that number is, the faster the internet's speaking to us. If you kind of look at what could cause that problem, is traffic congestion is one of them. You know, is there just a lot of people trying to share a limited amount of bandwidth? Are there bad sections in the internet? You know, if you think of a sort of a highway analogy comes to mind. You know, if there's a bit of a dirt road somewhere in between here and where you're going, it's going to take you longer to get there than it would be if it was paved highway the whole way. So with the internet, there are the same pieces that make up the highway or any transmission. Is there are good quality pieces and pieces that may need to be upgraded or just are still going to be dirt roads forever. The other issue we run into, which is one of the ones we struggle with a bit here, is defective or poorly configured routing. If there's a section that's under construction, if there are, let's say, a set of traffic lights that aren't properly configured, well, it can really bring traffic to a standstill. That is even more evident in broadband communications. If we have a poorly configured router or an underpowered router, it can basically be a bottleneck that holds up everyone. And then the fourth is reliability. You know, if your internet is stable, we've gone to, you know, you've always expected to have a dial tone. You pick up your phone. We now expect to have a consistent speed in broadband internet, regardless of what day it is. You know, we pick up the phone, there's a dial tone, we go to our computer, and there's fast internet waiting for us. If you guys pop to the next chart, please. How does Osoyoos stack up? Just before I kind of go into this, I went around and I asked, I looked at Lake Country, who is, they have Shaw Cable up there, and I kind of looked at what they spent, and I looked at what their bill looked like, and I kind of just used, because I thought it'd be a good example. We'll look at the town of Osoyoos, the town of Lake Country, the and compare things. Then I went around and looked at where did things stop and what's going on. So here, ADSL, Service, and TELUS, that's pretty much the only cost-effective product TELUS has to offer. As soon as we step beyond that, we need to have construction costs to bring product into the building, which I asked just to have a quote for this building would be $5,000. So any company would have that effect. So we're looking at, they're advertising 15 megabits per second upload speed and 1 megabit per second download speed. We're finding performance more in the 5 megabit up and 4 down. Eastlink, again, they advertise 20 megabits, and 2, we're really getting more like 5 megabits and 0.8.
Wow.
ABC Wireless has a lot of wireless work in this area as well as another company called Sky Surfer. They're a much smaller company, and but they are trying to get some toehold into this area. Being wireless, Osoyoos for some reason is a very noisy area for wireless communications. There's a lot of, I guess, the hotels and places, they all have wireless signals. They all seem to be on similar bands. It's not a wireless friendly place as you would think it would be, with the hills on either side should make it so. The other is cellular networks, and again, too expensive to be used on a regular basis. One other that isn't really here is I had a quick discussion with the Osoyoos Indian Band if they would be interested in putting up some sort of hosting. It's not really something that's on their list of things to do, but they do have high-speed internet through fiber optic cable into the band office, and also into the campground. So I thought that is, and they would be open to discussion, is really as far as we went. Actually, we can just click to the next slide. This is a little experiment Donna, Cora, and I did this morning. The Penticton number there is sitting in my office this morning. I ran an internet speed test, and I was able to get 5 millisecond ping times. So which means I left a message, 5 milliseconds later they got back to me. My download speed was 47 megabits per second, and my uploads were 4.68 megabits per second. I also checked my bill for Chau, and it's actually a little bit cheaper than the municipality's bill for Eastlink. Then Donna ran the same test on her computer here. We had a 619 millisecond ping time. So really, that's a microwave tower. It has to be. You know, there's nothing else that's that slow. Download speed is 4.9, so like 10%, and upload speed was 0.28, and we actually tried it a couple of times before it came up to 2.8.
Wow.
So you look at, I'm getting 5 megabits and you're getting 1/4 of 1 megabit, which to me is, it's ridiculous. It's just not, we can't run even an organization like this municipality with it. We use voice over IP phone systems, which are they're a great tool. They're very cost effective, and it works. It's a perfect solution for an area like this. We have the arena, we have the Sonora Center, we have Public Works. Why would we have to pay all this communication cost? We should be able to do that over the internet using our VoIP phones. We can't do it here because we just don't have the connectivity between them. So I kind of navel gazed a bit and thought, what are our options here? And from what I understand, Eastlink has brought up a fiber optic cable from the U.S., which would provide us with the backbone in order to provide high-speed internet into this area. They also spent a fair amount of time, energy, and money doing upgrades to this area over the past, I don't know, I guess just over the spring and summer period. I noticed myself just a lot of trucks, traveling up and down the highway. So my first thought there is they offer a package to their customers outside of this area that are 20 megabits of download speed and 2 megabits of upload speed. Their ping times, we did an experiment last week between the town of Osoyoos and the town of Oliver, and just to get some ping times back and forth, and they were, although not to the 5 millisecond, they were in the 15 to 20, which is, it's acceptable. That's fine. You know, we wouldn't have a problem with that. So my thought was, if they are offering this 22 package, if we do have the upgrades in place, that might be one option, is to speak to Eastlink and see if we can force their hand to kind of move that ahead a little faster. The other option was to wait for Chau to show up. You know, are they coming? I did phone Chau for a comment, but I just didn't really get a positive response. Unfortunately, you know, in the capacity I'm in, I couldn't really climb very high in the ladder to ask that question. I feel TELUS has forgotten about us.
Wow.
You know, I look at, you know, right across the road here is a 1960s microwave tower, and you know, although they claim it's just there because they haven't gotten around to taking it down, the 620 millisecond ping rate tells me otherwise.
Okay.
Also, one of the fellows from our office did a bit of a test, and he was able to record where all of his hops went to, and one of them included Calgary, and we were on our way to the Sonora Center when we got there.
Wow.
The other thought is to see if we can work with Osoyoos Indian Band and do something in that direction. The other one is to look at a municipal project to run the last mile ourselves. I know there's not a lot of precedent for this, but you know, to run internet as a public service, obviously for a fee, you know, same as we would sell, you know, water, electricity, or whatever. I know the City of Penticton discussed that a few years ago, the idea of putting in fiber optic cables and provide the last mile to different organizations. I'm not sure what happened with that. They spent about $2 million building out the fiber optic, but I don't think they ever actually went any further with it. And then I mentioned earlier the wireless is a little congested here, but there are some ways to get around that. You know, purchasing a specific wireless band, and you know, we could actually transmit wireless throughout on that specific band. But it is a bit of your hands are tied. You know, we really, you know, we need that pipe out, which sounds like there is fiber optic cable running near, and you know, we could have access to it, but building that last mile is always extremely expensive. Again, I know there was a fair amount of funding floating around for that, but I think it just got spent in other places. The Similkameen Valley, I know they spent a fair amount of federal money building a wireless network throughout there, which they've done a good job, and it's a good product, but I'm not sure if that's still around. So, come to an end, it's we need to do something. I think if we want to attract, you know, even home offices, we need to provide them with the ability to work from home, and we can't with what we have here.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. That's absolutely shocking. Is how I find that when we're trying to attract business, as you say, home-based or otherwise. We knew, well, I sort of knew it was bad, and then I've been through, I sit on the CITIT board, Southern Interior Development Initiative Trust, and it's the Kootenays and the Thompson-Okanagan area. And I saw grant money going through of $50,000 to 3 communities in the Kootenays, and that sort of tweaked my interest. And of course, they were applying for the money from CITIT to upgrade their systems, and they were making an economic pitch on it, because CITIT is all about job creation, and so that really got me interested as to where we were on our situation. That's terrible. Mm-hmm. And I'm just shocked about where we're coming from TELUS. Steve Jenkins, the area general manager, he comes through talks TELUS and the wonderful things they're doing and where they're going, and of course they're looking at towers and some of the issues associated with towers. But I see him quite often, so I'm definitely going to feel free to give him a call and ask about what we're getting from TELUS in this mix down here. That's not good news. I mean, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And this is by no means shoot the messenger.
Yeah.
But I just think, wow, we need a big upgrade here, and it may have budget implications, unfortunately. And that was the money that was allotted from CITID in the Kootenays. It was, I think it was 50% funding on around $100,000. So the communities were putting up $50,000 of their own money to do this. And obviously we're going to have to be prepared for some of those upgrade dollars ourselves. Council, please. Any comments from Councillor Plant? This would be up your alley.
Yeah, well, yeah. The only reason I'm glad that he's here, because I do run a business that, and again, it's every business here in the town. If you're not running off the internet, then you're getting left behind. So right now, if we don't have and we're not meeting up to standards, we got to find out how to do that. And it's every day we're on it every day. My iPhone works perfect right now. But we get some high traffic times. As you said, we're limited sometimes in the summertime with the amount of traffic that is here. But I know I struggle sometimes just in my own business and accessing. So thanks for bringing this to light, and I hope that we move forward and look at some options for making this a better situation. Thanks.
Councillor Ryan?
Yes, Andrew, thank you very much. We had some of the councillors had complained about this, and I'm sure that's what sparked your meeting with Donna. And of course, your company is our IT consultants and do our work, so we're happy about this. And you've laid out a number of options, and I'm just wondering, can we sort of work with you to sort of look at these, explore them more in depth, and see which one maybe works for us?
I think so. I'd like to see that. I also think and I don't know from a political standpoint, but Oliver's in the same boat as well. And I also think that if we look to the business community, I think you're going to get a lot of support from the business community with their checkbooks too, if we wanted to make some changes here.
You mentioned, thanks, Councillor Ryan. You mentioned that the CS Indian Band in their office in Oliver put fiber optics in themselves. So what would that do if we did that?
Well, the one thing we run into a trouble here is obviously on band land, they own the poles and they own the ground, and construction costs are dramatically cheaper. That was the same as in Penticton. They own the telephone poles in Penticton, so they were, the cost of hanging the cable was a little cheaper. However, it's I'm not sure really how it would work with band, I guess, because who would own the fiber? There'd be a lot of questions there, but there's, I personally don't see why we couldn't do it other than for financial reasons.
So where would you take the fiber to? I mean, there's no use taking it over to here to put it on a microwave tower.
No, exactly. And like say the logical one, especially here, would be to go to a wireless band. If we could have a wireless, like a specific frequency that we purchased for this area, and we would transmit, the internet via wireless link. Anyone who would consume it from us would use, have a wireless link in their business or their home.
Well,
the other would be we've got to run copper or fiber into the buildings, and that's expensive. So
if we had a wireless link, would that be a business opportunity? Would you be able to sell space?
That would be my thought. Would be the fact that, and that's, as I approached the Indian Band, was saying, why don't you do this? You have this great cliff that we could hang an antenna on, and why not, provide broadband internet via wireless link to anyone who can see your antenna.
Okay, well, I just hope we jump on this and start moving this forward. This needs a solution.
Good. I think my contact with Chau, TELUS, and Eastlink, at least now that they know that I was going, I told them I was coming before Mayor and Council, so that might stir them up a little bit even on its own. But
Great, great.
But I'd be happy to work whatever we need to do. It'd be nice to see it happen.
Okay. So now they know that we know.
Exactly.
And I can't see Keith Lacey, but I think I just saw a page flip. There he is. And we have the press, so now everybody knows. Great. Thanks for that presentation. That was very good, very timely, and yeah, a little bit scary.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot. Next item, the Friendship Force. Maureen Olson, please.
And I'd like to bring our president with me, Mavis Grant. And there is
Welcome, Mavis.
There was a short video opening it. We brought a short CD which introduces World Friendship Force. Yes, please.
Clubs in more than 350 cities and 60 countries. The Friendship Force mission to promote global understanding across the barriers that separate people. Each year, more than 5,000 citizen ambassadors travel with Friendship Force International, changing the way they see the world by exploring other countries from the inside as temporary citizens. Living with a host family, sharing everyday life, brings a profound understanding of another country and culture. And FFI also offers new ways to serve our planet through humanitarian, educational, and environmental projects around the world. But the opportunity to live with a family, to be more than just a tourist, is the signature experience of travel with Friendship Force International.
Wayne Smith, who started Friendship Force, has always said that the best way to get to know people is to put your feet under that table. And I think it really makes a difference. And the personal experiences add so much to the trip. That's what has made Friendship Force so successful.
Friendship Force International has made a profound difference in the world. Its work has been recognized with a nomination for the Nobel Peace Prize. More than 1 million people in 60 countries have participated as hosts or citizen ambassadors. People with the passion and courage to go into difficult areas of the world in the name of friendship. It is a powerful legacy and a powerful opportunity. In the early 1980s, the Friendship Force broke through the Iron Curtain with exchanges between the Soviet Union and the United States. From this extraordinary past, we move toward a vitally important future. Today's troubled world has left many countries hungry for the hand of a friend. The future of FFI lies both in strengthening ties to familiar destinations and extending the hand of friendship to new friends in Morocco, Israel, Jordan, China, South Africa, and Vietnam, and especially to friends in the Muslim world.
You run tremendous risks in going to new places.
Former United Nations Ambassador Andrew Young sits on the International Advisory Board of Friendship Force International.
Places that are unknown and frightening. And yet you go. And as a result of your going, you build new relationships with people that I think contribute to changing the world in which we live. In fact, I know that you have contributed to changing the world in which we live.
Changing the way you see the world. It begins with hello. It begins with come in. It begins with you. More than ever, we need the force of friendship at work in the world. Friendship is an ordinary word, and yet a word that can change strangers into friends with a handshake and a smile. One word powerful enough to change the world. One organization dedicated to making it happen. Friendship Force International. We're changing the world. One friend at a time.
That's our overall mission. We have been active in the area here as with ambassadors from many countries, and Mavis has traveled to other countries. Mavis, what?
I joined an international group to Florida, and there was people from Australia and UK, Netherlands at that time. A few years ago, I went to Turkey with a Canadian group, so that was interesting because there was a mixture of the French, Canadian, and English speaking. So that was quite interesting. And then a few years ago, I joined what they called a discovery tour, and that was to Slovakia, Hungary, and there are a couple of clubs there, but they were trying to get new clubs in those areas. And I'm hoping next year in February to go on a trip to Myanmar, Burma, and that will be partly humanitarian. I've applied. I don't know whether I'll be selected at the moment.
When we have visitors come from other countries, we've had them from Brazil, Costa Rica, Germany, we very quickly find that they're interested in learning English, and that we don't need a lot of English to be able to understand one another. We welcome them to our homes. We offer bed and breakfast, and then transportation for things that we have planned for the group, and they in turn will offer to give us a dinner. Sometimes they make it in our home, and sometimes they will take us out for a meal. And we love showing off the things that we have here in Osoyoos for them. And the big difference is that we go as ambassadors, so we are guests in their home, and we welcome them into our home as a guest, and we very quickly become friends. When they leave, we miss them. Has anybody got any questions?
Other than you're having a group here at the end of the month?
Yes.
Yes, on the 31st, there will be some of this friendship circle of that will be in Osoyoos here. So if anybody was interested, would they come out? And
they could come out and have a conversation with us, certainly. And the groups that are coming at the end of August are from North Moreton, Australia.
Yes, Queensland.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, great.
And we also have a group coming from Ottawa at the end of September. This is a domestic exchange, and they're coming specifically for the wine festival.
Oh, wonderful.
And we hope, we've been asked by FFI, which is Atlanta, to host an international wine exchange in 2014.
Oh, that would be great.
That would be great for our club, plus for the Valley.
Absolutely.
If we have that.
That'd be wonderful.
And we'd like to thank the council and councillors for the opportunity to do this presentation. It was because we stopped and spoke to Mike Ryan one day on the street that he said, do come and tell more of it. Tell us about it. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you very much.
We have got some things.
We passed a few. There's a few. Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to our third delegation, delegate. This has to do with the Red Cross Health Equipment Loan Program. Mr. Ritchey, please. John Ritchey from Kelowna. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor Wells and Council and public. It's a real pleasure to make the drive down here today. I'm the regional manager for the Southern Interior for the Canadian Red Cross. I've been in that role for the last 13 years, and I actually live in Vernon, the other end of the Okanagan, and so it's always a nice day to actually have a tour all the way through. After today, I'm going through to Trail and to Nelson on some other business in those areas, and it's always a pleasure to be able to come before communities and share our story. We want to certainly thank this community for the long-term hosting of our, what we used to call the Medical Equipment Loan Cupboard, which we now call the Help Depot Health Equipment Loan Program. And that program has over many years evolved from very much a very localized community initiative for which some characteristics have never changed, and that's the local volunteers to whom we and you, I know, are most appreciative of the work that they do, like all the other volunteers in the community. The recent volunteers, Charlotte St. Johanser was in the lead person here for about 27 years, I believe, and we've long appreciated her and her treks up to Kelowna and our times down here. And a few things coincided this summer in the month of July. Charlotte made the decision to retire, and it had been our plan for some time with her that upon her retirement, we would be consolidating the Osoyoos Depot with the Oliver Depot. And as you know, that's a 15 to 20-minute drive from here. And we understand that the impact that may make on the community, and appreciate that change will be felt. The nature of our program is volunteer directed, volunteer managed, and so the role of volunteers is very critical. What we have realized over the last several years is that we have an ever-increasing need to improve our standards of cleanliness and safety of this equipment. All of this equipment, you may realize, has been donated. It has been pre-used, experienced equipment, and we're able to basically recycle that equipment and provide that on a basis of a no-charge loan to individuals on a referral by a healthcare professional. That loan period is typically 3 months, or up to 6 if that's indicated. And it's primarily for people who are in a home care situation. It sometimes our healthcare colleagues and IH managers appreciate the service, that it does enable them to free up beds on occasion that are very important to do so, to give people the means of safe and independent home care, either by their family caregivers or others. So it's primarily mobility aids like wheelchairs, walkers, canes, that sort of thing, as well as bath aids. Could be commodes, raised toilet seats, a range of items that give people their dignity at home to recover from injury, surgery, or their health, and oftentimes end-of-life care. So the consolidation that we've seen here has been one of, we think, out of necessity, that the facility in Oliver has recently, we've been able to enlarge that to handle more equipment, which would be delivered from Kelowna, where we now will maintain the cleanliness of equipment, so it recycles through Kelowna, where it's cleaned. If you can imagine a washing machine about the size of a Volkswagen, that's what we have there. It's called a hub scrub, and we can put equipment in it, and we can clean it and disinfect it in 2 operations inside that in about, oh, well, it's really a fraction of the time that it might have taken Charlotte and her assistants over the years to clean it over a laundry tub. And it's in a cleanly state. We also have there on site a repair center where we can check out the equipment, change the tires on the wheelchair, tighten the screws, replace parts, or take something out of circulation that's no longer safe. So that's our game plan, and we will have the Kelowna hub, which we will serve everything from Salmon Arm, Enderby, down to this area, now based in Oliver. The nearest other sites are in Coston-Caramias and also out in Princeton, and of course Penticton. So our hope is that we're still able to serve the people of Osoyoos, and that that service will not be interrupted, and it will continue to provide clean and safe equipment in greater quantity to a larger area and more people.
Great, thanks, Mr. Ritchey. I'm sure there's going to be some questions here. It certainly struck a nerve with the town, and I know there's going to be there's some people here in the audience that are. We'll see if they're going to be able to speak or not. That's up to council, but yeah, it certainly struck a raw nerve. We don't like to see the deterioration of any services. I don't know exactly where this is going to go, but I think council could be entertaining writing a letter. We're looking at an appeal process. I don't know whose decision that is, but I have a list at home of six solid citizens that came forward on their own volition to volunteer. We didn't go to the press or anything else. They just came forward, and pretty solid people, one of them being an ex-councillor, have come forward to do this volunteer service. And it's got the town quite upset, and so I think I'm just going to go forward with this and see what some of the people have to say about this. But before I can have anyone else speak, I'm going to ask Council, do you have any questions of Mr. Ritchey? Councillor McCordoff, please.
Thank you. I guess our concern is from people in the town, and specifically council as well as a lot of the people that are here. This is a change that we felt was fait accompli, something that had happened before we really had a chance to figure out what it was that was going on. I certainly understand your rationale for having the equipment taken up and fixed and cleaned properly and that type of thing. I guess that there are many people in town that used the loan cupboard over very many years, knew it was here, and I think they just feel that it's, like the hospital, moved to Oliver, and that strikes a nerve with the people in this town. Has there been any thought to perhaps having some sort of a, if somebody down here needed something, having a van or a truck or something coming down, other than people are in need of something like this, oftentimes they can't drive to get up there and get it. Does that ever factor into any of your areas that you have this?
Yes, absolutely. We have some 36 locations in the southern interior out of 77 across the province. And in every case, we have clients whom they're the clients of interior health or healthcare professionals. And we work in partnership with the healthcare professional and the client's family or friends to ensure that that equipment is made available in the most convenient way possible, depending on the circumstances, and that it is returned so that we can clean it and repair it and put it out again. So we've long done that, and that would not stop. Just before I left the office this morning, one of our volunteer coordinators there told me that she had a very nice call from someone in this community who said that she would be willing to, on an on-call basis, assist people in accessing equipment from Oliver. And that's the kind of thing that I shouldn't say that we expect, but we experience that. We certainly do. And I know that of those 36 locations, if you can imagine, that could be a problem for a lot of people. Typically, however, people have their means of transportation, whether it be family caregivers or friends or a spouse or someone who makes sure that they get in to pick up the equipment and that they're able to return it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anything else from council? Thank you, Mr. Ritchey. I won't. You can step down from the podium. And thanks for that presentation. I think it helped. Thank you very much. And I know there's a delegation here, and I need a resolution from council that they be allowed to speak. This is out of the ordinary. Councillor Ryan, Councillor McCordoff, all in favor? Okay. So whoever would like to speak for the group, or if there's a couple of you, that's fine and allowable. Although I would just like to say that it's not a debate. Ms. Polera, thank you.
Mayor Wells and Council, thank you for allowing us to speak. I think what's happening, or what has happened, we're all sort of in shock because it was so quick. I had a call from Interior Health and asked me to try to get some volunteers from the senior center, which at this time of the year is short of impossible, but I did try. And then I was told by Mrs. Schofield that they swooped in on July 31st. They didn't even wait till the supposed date of August the 4th. Came as a little bit of a shock to everybody because we were all trying to get people. Well, we have people. We have this lady here who has volunteered to run it.
Oh.
I do believe that Maureen Schofield was doing a very good job. Yes. She loved it. She was there. She would be there 5 days a week if we let her.
Right.
Okay? So, Mr. Ritchey, this is the problem. You surprised us, shocked us, and actually ticked us all off. And I'm not one to mince words, okay? I don't know if it's the space at Sonora Center. I understand the girls were running it out of the library because of the flooding.
Yes.
And so some of us assumed then that there was lack of space.
No.
Okay. I would like to suggest that Interior Health take a look at this because they have a great big building. They have staff 5 days a week, and then the girls could be on call on the weekend. It's a big building. There's lots of space there. So why are we not utilizing spaces that we as taxpayers are paying for? So that's what I have to say. Where did my lady go here?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm Birgit Ornstein. I'm a former nurse. I've just retired, in fact, and I have worked at GF Strong, which is a big rehabilitation center in Vancouver. And while I really have quite a busy life, I would hate to see this close for this community. Many years ago, my daughter used the Red Cross loan cupboard in Vancouver for a number of months, and you know, it's not just for seniors. This is a program that is also there for people who have a transient illness. It's going to end. They don't need to buy a wheelchair because you know that they're going to, in a few months, not require it. And wheelchairs are very expensive to purchase. Or crutches. Crutches are very expensive. And oftentimes people are now buying crutches because they can't access them any other way. The loan cupboard provides that sort of thing. I think that the accessibility for people in a community makes it work better. I'm not sure, I didn't understand before today that the cupboard was going to be, or the depot was going to be in Oliver. That may change the picture a bit because, after all, the initial treatment of the patient would be in the Oliver Hospital, and so maybe it makes sense that it is in Oliver. But perhaps there can be a mini center here for a few essentials that people need in this community. Thank you.
Thank you for your input. Mrs. Cook?
I like to add a few things that have already been mentioned, but we did do some research, and we felt that the former Sagebrush Lodge building was the logical place to have a service like this. And also, when it was suggested that volunteers were not available, I wrote down there's 9 churches in town and there's 8 service clubs, and I don't know if any of them were approached about offering this service. And I know that there's a lot of us that would volunteer to help run the program and to make this service available to our senior citizens. And talking about being very easy to drive to Oliver, most of the senior citizens, a lot of them don't drive, and they have spouses or family that are not always around. And to take a service like this out of a town that has a large senior citizenship is just doing the wrong thing. And we want to make people able to stay in their homes, not be in hospitals, not be in retirement old age homes, stay in their homes as long as possible. And this service has been in Osoyoos for so long, and it's helped so many people, that to take it away at this point is counterproductive. It's not doing anything for Osoyoos, and we just want to let you know that I've got dozens of volunteers that would help run the program. And it came upon everybody so suddenly that it was being closed that none of us had time to group and get people to you. But I can give you a list of volunteers if you want it, and if that makes it necessary. What else have I got here? We know that Town Council will work with us to help resolve this problem, and we just resent anything being done without any of us being asked to help. I think I've covered it all. I guess that's about it, but I just want to make sure that you know that we have volunteers that will cover the service for the whole year, and it's not a lack of volunteers that is causing this service to be taken from Osoyoos.
Great, thank you. And you know, when we look at, thank you, Mr. Cook. When we look at organizations like this that are working out of a depot, it's sort of akin to the library, for example. I'm sure Okanagan Regional Library would like to close this library and have us go to Oliver too. I mean, that's a wonderful efficiency to be able to do that. But again, it's the service that you're taking away from the folks. And I think that's the issue here, is we're losing the service. I don't know where that is with council, but it's over to council now. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, a couple of things that I was going to note when Mr. Ritchey was speaking, but as was said by some of the citizens, council. I personally found out most of the details from the newspaper, and I was struck when they said that the Red Cross had tried to solicit volunteers through volunteer fairs and that sort of thing. And I know that in my 5 years now or so on council, we've never had anything from the Red Cross or from the lone covered people with the volunteers. We celebrate them at our annual event and our luncheon, but in terms of getting statistics and being told that, you know, there's a desperate need for volunteers, we've never had that. And so I think we were blindsided. I got a call too, and then I said, well, I thought that that something was happening at the end of the week. No, it's already happened. And so we're kind of playing catch up here now. There are a lot of people who go to Oliver Hospital, and it might be convenient for them, but there are also a lot of people who have who maybe simply have a need for some aid of one kind or another, who don't go to hospital for it. They go to their doctor here, and you know, maybe they've had a sprain, or maybe they simply are having some difficulty. Maybe they've had something that isn't major, but impairs their mobility or some of their functioning in their home. So while I can understand that there might be a critical mass that you say, well, you're going to put more pieces of equipment in one location and there'd be better choice and selection, I think that in light of the response, the volunteer response here, the fact that there are locations that could be used for this purpose, I would like to see. I'd like to see the equipment loan program revisit this and reconsider it in light of this new information. I think that's only fair that be done.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. I think at this point I'm going to ask Mr. Ritchey, is there a reconsideration process that could be looked at? And I won't use the word appeal, but I will use the word reconsideration. Thank you.
Well, certainly we would reconsider that. I think that we would want to have contact with the people that are volunteering.
Yes.
Because you know, there's some criteria in terms of volunteering.
Would it help if we were looking at a reconsideration? Would it help to have an organization behind it? I won't name any, but like an organization in town. Would that help if they were going to say we'll run with it, and the volunteers and that, somebody in charge?
Well, I would. My response to that would be that as a community, your community group or organization that would choose to develop and operate an equipment loan program, we would have no objection to that.
Okay.
We would be happy to offer advice, assistance if needed. However, the Red Cross does the program, and though we can partner with organizations, I know that for just as another example, because in other communities, Peachland, for a number of years, we had an agreement with the seniors center there.
Okay.
And as it happened, we were able, with the support of the district of West Kelowna Council, we were able to expand our facilities actually in West Kelowna.
Okay.
And the Peachland, which did have an inadequate basement facility, so the access was not good, they consolidated in the West Kelowna site because we were enabled to have larger facilities. So I don't think that the facility was an issue here.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think that the lack of volunteers was necessarily the issue, although, and I'm not debating, I'm not refuting, but I do know that over the last 5 years we've made considerable effort, considerable contact in the community, and we've had staff working on that, as well as Charlotte herself, and we drew it blank. And I think one of the situations that you may not be aware of, and I do not in any way diminish the people of this community, but when we look at the numbers, we have an average of 5 people per week who use the Osoyoos facility. Now, there's no lack of importance of those 5 people. However, when you think of that as an average, if you're looking at a volunteer experience, you have a problem because regardless of how many volunteers you have, there's very little for them to do. People do not come to the help depot on a daily basis or a weekly basis. It's not a place where people hang out. They come simply with a referral form, and they get a clean, safe piece of equipment to take home. And then they bring that back 3 months later or 6 months later, or whenever they want to, when they're finished with it. But generally, that's dictated by the referral and by their recovery period. So that's part of the difficulty. You know, in Oliver, we don't get any higher average either. We're hoping that with that relocation and that consolidation into a somewhat larger space with more equipment, that we will experience more referrals from that surrounding area. And I know that, you know, I drove past and I thought, okay, clock in this, and I'd say that it's really closer to 20 minutes than it is 15. It certainly was for me. But, you know, in every situation, we have, in Kelowna, we have hundreds of people who come from well in excess of 20 minutes. And I'm not saying that, you know, but it's the fact. It's having this service supported in the way that it need be is just perhaps not viable for us to do in Oliver, or in Osoyoos and Oliver. And we did make a choice that I know seemed precipitous, and I have to apologize for that. That was really a convergence of a number of circumstances. The facility issues, Charlotte's retirement primarily, because we had an agreement with Charlotte that when she decided to retire, and we didn't expect that until next year, that we would be consolidating. I hope that's
no. You're doing a fine job, Mr. Ritchey. I must say that, and I think at this point, maybe we should rethink this, and maybe there should be council. If I could get a counselor to volunteer, or a couple of counselors to meet with some of the people and see what our direction could be. Because, you know, when we're looking at the efficiency of the organization, maybe we should just relook at what Mr. Ritchey presented to us and see which way we want to go as a community. And I don't think that should be just a council decision. I know that there's a group of delegates here. I'd really like them involved, and a couple of councillors, and put this together. If we were going to ask for reconsideration, would that be to you, Mr. Ritchey?
That's the place.
Okay. So does that work for everybody here? Councillor McCordock?
No, I would volunteer to to meet with some of the people in town.
Great.
For sure, and do some.
As one of the most recent users of the service, I would be happy to meet with them too.
Okay, and I think what we'll do at this point is have a couple of councillors meet with the interested folks and groups, and get that direction on where we want to go as a community. Mrs. Cook.
Can we ask for the reconsideration right now? Like we all feel that it's a service that is needed in Osoyoos, and I think if it's operated where it's a little bit better known where it is and what's going on, it would build up the use that Mr. Ritchey is looking for, and we have volunteers that are ready to go and do it. We just, all of us didn't know that there was a problem until all of a sudden it came up. And I think with such a big population of seniors in town, it's a service that nobody can hear it. Okay, sorry. Just
They're staring at Stu right now.
Okay. And I'm not talking.
With the number of seniors in town that need the service, I think it's warranted to leave it here instead of driving for 20, 25 minutes, half an hour, winter and summer, is hard for older people, as we said before. And it just is another service that Osoyoos would lose that would make it a less valuable community. We have tons of seniors, and we advertise it as a good place for seniors to live. They like to stay in the town where they grew up. They don't want to have to move. And if we keep whittling away the services for our seniors, we'll have nothing but tourists.
Okay. Thank you. So I still think that this should be done as a group. And Mr. Ritchey, you've heard everything from our side. You presented very well. I think we'll go as that committee of the people that are here, the delegation that's here, with 2 counselors, throw this together, and then we'll come back and with that decision, because there was some good points made by, and I understand Mrs. Cook exactly what you're saying. It's another amenity. It's another little piece of the town that's gone, and we don't need that. But then there was some good common sense hard facts that Mr. Ritchey presented too. So I just think we should do it as a group. So if we can sort of stop this now, we have the 2 counselors that have volunteered. I think you can probably meet within a day, and if that's where we're going, you will be hearing from us, Mr. Ritchey.
Very well.
How's that? Is that a?
That's great. May I say one last thing?
You may.
I have handed a brochure here to the lady. Programs and services.
Okay.
And I'd just like to say that the Canadian Red Cross is a fascinating organization, multifaceted, and there are many opportunities for volunteers. Whether it's in thank you. Whether it's in Oliver or in Kelowna or in Osoyoos, I just call your attention to the fact that we are always very keen to attract volunteers and to explore with those volunteers the opportunities that we have. And I'll point one out, disaster response. Mm-hmm. Our most recent response in this neighborhood was Linden Falls last year. And we've been in Sycamoose. Mm-hmm. We've been in Johnson's Landing. And in the disaster services, as in the health equipment, mm-hmm. we're not limited to a single community. We send people all over the world and all over the region mm-hmm. and all over their communities. So if you have some people that are interested, we'd like to talk to them too.
Okay. 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 Thank you very much, and we'll get our ducks all lined up. Thank you to the delegation. Thanks for your input. Next item is water accounts payable in the amount of $58,560.54. Councillor Moreira. And the seconder, Councillor Plant. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? We'll pay off some water bills. Thanks, Councillor Moreira. Next item up is correspondence. And this would be the Lake Osoyoos Sailing Club request for permission for overnight parking. There's an enclosed letter from the Sailing Club. This is their annual regatta in which we bend a few of the local parking restrictions and that, so that people can, one part of it is really a safety concern, because it allows them to stay close to their boats, and there's some fairly expensive boats come in for the sailing regatta, and I think they like to stay close in the vicinity of them. So what are council's wishes on this, please? Councillor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I would like to approve of their request, but I would also like to accept the recommendation of our Chief Administrative Officer that we approve it for this year, and that we develop a letter of understanding that enables the activity to occur on an annual basis under specific terms and conditions.
Thank you, and that makes a lot of sense. We shouldn't have to do this every year. It's been happening as long as I've been on council, so that would be a pleasant relief there. Councillor McCordoff?
I second it.
Okay. Any further discussion, Councillor Ryan?
Yeah, just to say that as Mr. Romanko says in his report, that we had made this fairly temporary. I didn't realize it's been going on so long, but made it kind of a year-to-year thing because we weren't quite sure exactly how things were going to shape up in the marina area, how it was going to work, what kind of room we would have, and so on. But I think that it's clear now. We also know that that week after Labor Day, when they have their regatta, things are much quieter than they are now. And so I think that this is a quite very reasonable approach. It'll reduce the administrative burden on both the club and on our staff.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Next item, Councillor McCordoff, some out-of-town expenses. Councillor McCordoff sits on the library board and put in 2 half-days. I'd just like to comment that we do have the half-days now, which makes it a lot fairer for everybody to put in a half-day for $50, and there's 2 of them in there where she was attending some human resources issues up there. So resolution to pay, Councillor Ryan, Councillor Plant, all in favor. Opposed? That is also carried. Moving into bylaws, there's no bylaws up today. Into business, business 1, council meeting reports. No, that's not business 1. It would be the transport of dried sludge and stage 1 landfill final cover. A tender report from Director of Financial Services, Mr. Zackel.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Before council is one tender result for 2 projects in our 5-year financial plan. This is the transport of the dry sludge from our Cell 2 cleanup and the Stage 1 landfill final cover. This is the first component of 4 for the landfill final cover for Phase 1. The total budget for these 2 projects was $150,000. A total of 5 bids were received. The lowest bidder was Terra Vita, and this was disqualified as a non-compliant tender. Terra Vita bid included several qualifications and assumptions, and all the other tenders received were unqualified and compliant with the tender documents. The intent of the tender documents was to obtain a firm, unqualified tender for the work described in the tender package. The lowest compliant tender was V-Line Construction at $154,156.80, which included a $10,000 contingency allowance and 12% HST. True Consulting Group reviewed the tender packages and confirmed that V-Line Construction was the lowest compliant bidder. The tender was on budget, and the recommended contractor is V-Line Construction. From the community's perspective, completion of the lagoon upgrading project for cell number 2 and providing final cover for the first portion of the Stage 1 landfill final cover project. Organizationally, there's no changes. Budget, the project is targeted to come in on budget and is included in the 5-year financial plan. Sustainability, we're protecting the environment by taking care of our sludge and covering our completed portion of the landfill. So the options before council is to award the transport of dried sludge and Stage 1 landfill final cover to V-Line Construction in the amount of $154,156.80, which includes a $10,000 contingency and 12% HST, or to delay the project, which is not recommended. So option 1 is a recommendation. Now, you do see that the V-Line Construction tender is over the $150,000, but we get 85.14% of the HST back on that. So that's why it still falls within budget.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Zackel. Any questions on that report? Councillor McCordoff.
Thank you. Just one question. I know that that V-Line is in Oliver, and the next one, Night Heavy Haul, is Osoyoos, and I know that we try and keep things local as much as possible. When the amounts are so close, do you always go with the lowest? That's just the way you go. So if they'd come in at the same price, we would have obviously chosen the local one over it.
Unfortunately, that's correct.
Okay.
As long as they're both compliant, then we have to go with the lowest
The
bidder.
lowest bid.
You know,
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I just was asking. I wasn't sure about that.
we'd love
Thank
to keep
you.
it locally.
There used to be, on that same note, there used to be a local discount of 5% or 4%, and that got thrown out with Tilma. Is that what happened with that, Mr. Zackel?
That's correct. With the Tilma agreement now between the province of BC and province of Alberta, that now the local purchasing policy that we used to have in place to take care of our local businesses is now illegal, so we can't do that.
Okay.
So that was why, one of the reasons why the purchasing policy was changed last year as well.
Okay, thank you. I was just sort of wondering where that'll be now with the Enbridge situation. Sorry, I had to. That agreement may be getting a little shaky. Is there any other questions on the tender agreement? All in favor?
That's
Opposed?
in favor of option 1.
Of option 1, yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Next item is, again from the Sailing Club. There had been some discussion around some irrigation that was required as a result of some of the modifications to the parking lot. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Yes, on July 3rd, I brought a report to Council in relation to the need to extend the Sailing Club's irrigation system if we were to properly irrigate the areas that had been disturbed with the creation of the sidewalk and the parking lot. And the Sailing Club had sought out 2 quotes, one being for $1,700 and the other one was for significantly more. I had brought that request to Council, and Council had passed a motion that the Sailing Club be offered $1,000 to install the irrigation. Subsequent to that, I informed the Sailing Club of the Council's direction, and the Sailing Club responded that they would proceed with the installation of the irrigation if Council in fact paid the entire amount of $1,700. So we have in front of you, I guess, the issue again, and whether to approve the additional funding or continue to deny the additional funding and just leave the area with no irrigation, or I went back to Public Works and asked if we could hook it up to our existing irrigation system there, but apparently that it is difficult. We'd also be entering into some type of a situation where we're in fact providing services on a leased property, and there may not be coincidental timing needs in terms of our irrigation system and the Sailing Club's needs, so it would be fairly complex in terms of that particular process. So the issue becomes, do we leave it dry, or do we provide the additional funds?
Okay. And I think when we were looking at the up to $1,000 one, I think there were some comments there about the cost of the timer seemed to be an awful expensive item there. Irrigation timer at $800, or I'm just, maybe it was $700, but it was quite a high priced item. So anyway, what are Council's wishes there? Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Councilor Ryan.
Yes, I really have a question, and it's in regarding a discussion we had this morning about landscaping some of the parcels in our new construction, right. not just the banks and some of the larger, more obvious ones, but some of the little pieces and so on. And my recollection was that we decided we were going to get some advice about how best to handle those. In a sense, my recollection was that they were talking, staff were talking about little pieces here and there. And I'm just wondering whether we should simply not take any action on this until we get some some feedback from the landscape consultant that we're going to ask to advise us on the whole, all the various sites that have been disturbed recently.
Okay, that makes sense. Mr. Romanko, please.
This particular area has been landscaped already. It's been seeded, and in our earlier season of the year, with all the moisture we got, was growing quite well. However, in our latest dry spot, you can see that it's suffering dearly. But again, it will come back, and over the years it will fill in. But it's been all as part of the sidewalk program. All the areas around it were smoothed out and landscaped.
So this would be between the backup lane and the cedar shrubs?
No, this is between the south end of the Leisler property where that white boat is.
Right.
In that particular area and south.
Okay, right. I understand that. Okay, Councilor McCordoff?
Yes, thank you. I think that at our last meeting, when we agreed to pay the $1,000, and that was a bit of a stretch, and we agreed to that. I'm thinking that almost double at this stage is probably not within our budget, and so I definitely would go with option 2 and not okay the additional funding until. And I like Councillor Ryan's comments that it's possible that we could see what happens down there with some other landscaping, but I don't think we can be paying the whole thing. So that would be my motion.
Okay. Do we have a seconder on that? Councillor Plant. Okay. So that would be to deny the funding completely, and to have this come under the auspices of the landscape consultant when he looks at it, and see if there's something that we're going to do in addition to that.
Possibly.
Yeah. Possibly. Okay, any further discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, thank you. Irrigation request for liquid waste disposal from the cottages on Osoyoos Lake. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Attached, please find a letter from the cottages on the lake requesting interim sewage disposal for cottages on the Osoyoos Lake. As noted in the letter, the developer is asking the town to receive hauled liquid waste from their development for a maximum of 30 homes. This liquid waste would be hauled to the landfill and deposited into the liquid waste pit. The developer identifies a maximum of 25 meters squared amount that would be provided. Administration has verified with True Engineering that this measurement is a fair measurement of potential waste product from a single household. The liquid waste facility was developed in cooperation with the province and the regional district. In the past, there has been a revenue sharing agreement, but changes to the agreement are being proposed in a new agreement. The developer is also exploring other avenues to accept his development's sewer waste. The developer has stated that he will require his service May 1st, 2013 to June 2014. Capacity at the liquid waste facility will be available because the effluent from Willow Beach will be flowing through the northwest sewer lines. The liquid waste facility was taking waste from 40 Willow Beach units. In terms of implications, from a community perspective, the Desert Center will continue to be impacted by the hauled liquid waste. I know for a number of years we were waiting very patiently to have the Northwest Sewer Project go so that the Desert Center would not be impacted by that situation anymore. Organizationally, there's no impacts. The budget, the town will benefit from the revenue generated from receiving the effluent. Charging methods include per ton or development of flat fee for service. Council may wish to consider adding an amenity charge to the rate to act as a latecomer fee. In the past, we were charging a flat fee for service to Willow Beach and people in that particular area as opposed to a per ton charge. Sustainability, environmental damage from hauled liquid waste is limited to a contained area. I've provided 5 options for council. Option 1 being approve the request to provide service to the cottages in the lake. to a maximum of 30 units at a per ton liquid waste rate plus an amenity charge to be determined by council. Approve the request to, option 2 is to approve the request to provide service to the Cottages Lake to a maximum of 30 units at the liquid waste per ton rate with no additional charges. 3, make an offer to make the waste at flat rate, to take the waste at a flat rate. Option 4, deny the request for service, and option 5 is to request additional information. The administration recommends option 1. An amenity fee can be charged to remain consistent with other charging policy. This amenity fee reflects that the service area has not contributed to the initial capital cost of the facility. The per ton rate is recommended to encourage the developer to develop their own facility. And as the letter states, this service is being requested on an interim basis until they can sell sufficient amount of units to make building their own treatment plant or treatment system viable.
Which the numbers that I've been hearing that they have sold out there should be soon, I would think. I'm hearing some fairly strong numbers coming from Cottages on the Lake. Okay, wow, that's the poor desert. Did we have any dialogue with the desert, with the director from the Desert Society at all?
No, we didn't talk at all about it. You know, this is almost a situation where one would replace the other.
Yes. I see that. I see that. Unfortunately, I was looking for the happy day where the Desert Center wasn't going to have to struggle through those moments. Yeah. Okay. Council, please. Councillor Ryan.
Mr. Mayor, I have a couple of questions first, if I may. It's true. The report says that it would be 25 metric cubic meters, I guess, and then the letter from the developer says, you know, about 25 cubic meters, but it's for 30 homes. Now, I'm not sure. I wasn't obvious to me whether you were talking that much from a single home or that much from the total.
I think 25 cubic meters. I think it says it in the report is from one home.
From one home.
So that would be.
So it's times 30.
Times 30.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I think anyway, that's good. So I guess the other question is what options do they have besides our facility?
Basically none.
Mm-hmm. Oliver, they haven't got that off the ground yet with the RDOS and so on?
No.
Okay.
So, and that's not really going anywhere. We keep extending our deadlines, and I don't think they're even looking at it anymore in Oliver. And the solution is the Penticton sewer plant.
Yes.
They put up the $1 million to adapt that plant to accept it, but the hauling costs, they started looking at it from Oliver to Penticton, and nobody can afford to get the product there. Yeah. And then of course, City of Penticton, they have large costs that they want to recover on that plant too. So really. There are no other options.
Certainly not from their point of view in terms of being affordable. I'm encouraged by your comment about their sales, but my only concern is, and I guess as you suggested, because of what we've gone through with the RDOS, where we say yes for 12 months, and then they come back to us and with another sob story, and then we extend it, and it's almost become the same as our work with the sailing club.
Right.
So I would be happier if we had some hard information about how many offers to purchase they have on their homes, so that we aren't faced with them at the end of this period of time saying, oh, we need it for another 12 months, 15 months. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm afraid of. We've got a precedent for that happening. We know it if it's possible, it will happen. So I would feel better deferring this and finding out how many signed offers have they got that are irrevocable.
Okay, and I'm sure that Mr. Romanko could get that from Van Maren, the developer, Cottages on the Lake Inc. or whatever it is, because I appreciate with what you're saying, but but I think there's maybe a couple things in there this time around. A, we're going to charge an appropriate fee and make them pay an amenity charge. That would be a part of that resolution of that recommended number 1. An amenity charge, and get our fees up there where it's not attractive. Where they look at it as, gee, we better make number 1 priority, getting our own sewer system operating over there. And to their credit, I believe it's up by the road, and it won't be a lake discharge. It'll be a, it's going to be groundwater. It's low ground there, but at least it's going to have an opportunity. I mean, it's going to be all system 3, top of the line, but it's still that lake charge with the nutrients that always gets me excited, such as what the one at OK Falls was going into. So I think this is all progressing at the right level, and maybe if our rates are good, they will move. Councillor McCordock,
Thank
please.
you. 2 things. One is, do you see this, that the truck or whoever does the moving, does that happen once a day or once a week? That they move they move it all up to the landfill. That would be one thing. The other thing, if we're going to go with option 1, I would definitely think we need to put the dates in there. May 2013 to June 2014, and get them to sign it. I don't think I agree with Councillor Ryan. We don't want to be dealing with this any longer than.
Well, in answer to your first question, the only thing I have is what's in their letter, and they said they were building sufficient storage on our site. We don't have to pick up sewage more than once a week during non-peak times, and no more than once every second day during peak time.
Okay, that makes sense. It seems to me that the Willow Beach people had trucks and a key, and they would go in and out. Did they not?
No.
Well, not anymore. I know that, not anymore, but they used to.
Yeah.
So there was trucks up and back there at any time, and they would open up and go in. Is that correct? At one point.
At one time, but.
Well, I guess if that's their only option, I would go with that. But I think we need to add the dates into that.
Okay.
And charge them.
And I want to back up on that. Back to the original statement on that 25 meters, 25 cubic meters. The developer identifies a maximum amount of 25 cubic meters. Administration has verified with True Engineering that this measurement is a fair measurement of potential waste product from a single household per what?
When doing the report, I probably didn't finish it. I just was verifying that what Mr. Marion was saying, True actually supported to say that that's what they would create.
Okay.
It's not 25 cubic meters per household per day. It's entirely for the 30 units.
For the 30 units would be 25 cubic meters.
Yeah.
Because I'm thinking, I've got a picture in my mind what a cubic meter is. I'm going back to Councillor McCordock and the number of trips. It's going to need a train and a railway track.
Yeah, no, it was just the fact that True support. I went to True and said, is the information that they are giving us in fact legitimate information? And the short answer is yes.
Okay, and that again, just on that frequency was once every 2 days to twice a day, in that range from high to low.
Once a week in the off season.
Oh, once a week.
Maybe every 2 days in the
peak season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would these houses be? Would people live in them all year long, or are they mostly just 6 months, summer?
I think right now, they're mostly seasonal.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the intent is to have some people living there full time, but it's more of a seasonal development.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Ryan?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to propose that we defer this to our next meeting and seek more information about the number of units that have been firm offers to purchase. Okay. And then take it up at the next meeting. And I like the ideas that have been put forward, but I harbor this fear that we will be faced again with a request for an extension.
Okay. Mr. Romanko, was there a time frame on this with the developer?
He didn't specifically identify a time frame. This letter came to me in July, and and he hasn't queried me as to it for an answer.
Okay, well, maybe we can get that information and
Yep.
Satisfy Councillor Ryan's query on, to give us an indication of, but I've, as I say, I've heard some very, very strong numbers out there, so. So we will.
Need a secondary.
Yes, so we have a motion to defer. That needs a date.
To the next
Adjourn.
meeting, which is
No.
which is the 4th of September.
Okay, great.
Yep.
To the 4th of September, let's have the.
Yeah, okay, to the 4th of
Okay,
September.
Okay, thank you. Councilor McCordoff, seconder. Discussion, none, all in favor. We will visit this item one more time. Still under business. Oh. Still under business, the landfill waste scale clerk request for proposal. Report from the CAO, Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. The landfill scale clerk is a contract position that comes to conclusion on August 31st, 2012. The attached request for proposal for a 3-year agreement with council approval for an optional for 3 years was advertised in the Osoyoos Times to seek out interesting parties. 2 parties submitted bids to provide the service. The requirements of the scale clerk have changed from the previous formal request for proposals in the following manner. We now have a requirement to enforce the bylaw requirements for load control. There's increased reporting due to changing demands of provincial regulators. There's increased communication with provincial officials due to changes related to recycling and hazardous waste product handling, and increased hours due to Tuesday 8 a.m. openings. Currently, we have budgeted $27,000 per year to fund the waste scale contract function. The proposals received are as follows. Kay and Wendy Zelter at $24,000 per year, and B&B Wood Grinding Inc. at $48,048 per year. The Zelter proposal illustrates that the proponents have no experience in operating a landfill scale operations or any background in the business of landfill operations. The proposal provides no emergency call-out rate, no proof that insurance bond can be obtained, and no valid signature to the proposal. Administration considers this an incomplete application, not to be considered in the selection process. B&B Wood Grind proposal illustrates the proponent's extensive experience in landfill operations and training to meet the changing demands of the landfill operation. B&B has provided all the needed information. B&B has been providing this function for the past 6 years. Administration has provided council with a cost breakdown to operate the function with 2 part-time or 1 full-time employee as another option to consider. The implications under community, the community benefits from effective and efficient operations of a scale house because it is the intake and entry goods into the landfill. Organizationally, the organization benefits from working with an experienced operator that is proactive in promoting a high-quality landfill clerking operations. The budget, any increases to enable the conclusion of this year will come from the contingency funds, and increases in operations will be worked into next year's fee structure. Sustainability, the community benefits from proper intake and handling of waste in our landfill. The unloading directions and bylaw implementation will assist in maintaining our landfill for an extended period of time. So the options as presented, approve the Zelter proposal. Number 1. Number 2, approve the B&B Wood Grind proposal. 3, approve the hiring of town employees to provide the service. 4, change the operating hours of the landfill to bring down the cost of operation of the scale house. And number 5, request a contract extension and re-advertise the request for proposal. The administration recommends option 2. The request for proposal selection process includes both price and experience. B&B Wood Grind has extensive experience and training in the operations of the scale house and the landfill, understanding of the scope of the job, and a proven track record in all elements of the reporting and cash handling. The administration also recommends that a CPI factor similar to the past contract be approved as part of the agreement.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Council, please. Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I read this, I I know that B&B or BB has the current contract and that their work has been exemplary. But when you read that the one of the two proposals wasn't signed and was just totally amateurish, we really don't have a contest here. And I don't know whether that 27,000 was a poorly estimated amount, but the 48,000 is well over the 27 that was budgeted, and I'm just wondering why we haven't been. Well, I mean, we're obviously given an option to retender, but is that not considered feasible? I'm just curious as to why we wouldn't say, gee, we don't really have a competition here. And we're not, it's not reasonable for us to hand something to somebody without having a second bid. I mean, we've done several times. We've gone back and said, well, we're going to retender because we really don't have a bidding situation here.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan, and for smaller issues than this, when we're at 48,000 versus 27 and that, I think that's fair comment that you've made. It should probably look at a retender, but that's council's decision. Councillor Plant, what's?
Yeah, those are exactly what I was thinking when I was looking at the numbers for myself. Yeah, I mean, at the end of it all, we don't really have a choice other than the one, and so I would feel somewhat comfortable by going back and requesting a contract extension and advertise the RFP again.
Okay. Councillor McCordoff?
Yeah, thank you. It just seems a huge jump in from 27 to 48. That's a little hard to swallow at this point. Mind you, at the end of August, which is only 10 days away, the contract ends. So basically, we don't have a lot of time. So we need to absolutely do something right now. I'm wondering. I think that's what Councillor Plant suggested. Extend the contract for another year. Is that a possibility till we have a look at this again, or is this is it a 3-year? Did I look at that? Is that what the contract is?
This is the proposals for 3 years.
I agree with the other two councillors that this is not something that we should probably jump into when it's almost double. The cost. It comes as a bit of a surprise that. So I'm just wondering if there's some other option that we can extend the.
You could probably ask the existing if they would continue on, but because if we go for an RFP, it's going to. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Michael. If we go for an RFP, it's going to certainly go beyond the closing date.
Yeah, just to the reason we didn't suggest, or I didn't suggest, we go back again to the RFP process is that it's a job that not a lot of people would want, and it is something that requires a certain degree of expertise in a number of different areas, plus working in a landfill area. We did give it a legitimate shot in terms of a request for proposal, and it was advertised. And I guess the question becomes, what would bring something else out in another degree of advertising? And that's part of it. And then that's also why we did the cost comparison of having it as a town employee, just to provide for council the fact that this particular proposal it may be higher than what was before. Again, that contract, that number it was actually 6 years old when it started out and only got CPI'd for 6 years.
At 27,000.
Well, its growth was over 6 years when the contract first started.
Okay.
So they've been the initial, I guess, base number of and then it just was CPI'd for 5 years after that. So it grew into that number. The demands on the landfill have changed, or the landfill clerk position have changed as well. So that's why the cost comparison with if we were going to do it by ourselves, also what the regional district pays for their landfill operator, which again is not a contract. It's in fact a salaried position.
Yeah,
So
and they get to take whatever they want from the landfill too, don't they?
Oh, I don't know about that.
At least that's what the tour documents seem to be.
But if it's council's wish to go back and re-advertise, certainly that is something we could do. We would have to approach our current operator and ask for some type of contract extension. My sense is that contract extension is still going to cost us more per hour. We'll have to come to some type of an agreement on a number as opposed to the current number.
Okay, well, I think that's, from what I'm hearing from council, that seems to be the direction we're in. And, you posed the question of what's going to change things, and this is, I think Mr. Lacey, being in the audience here, is going to report that out. People are going to go, well, probably will put in some more bids on it. And I don't know that that's, when you look at these things, if we're going to re-tender, there's always that question of fairness to the person who's put the tender out there. Because now there's a couple of things. They may sharpen their pencil somewhat, but they're not going to come in at $27,000. That's for sure. And the other folks have seen their bid, so that gets out there. So there's a, you go to bid for a reason, and it's a process. And then when we go, if we went back to tender, there's an inherent unfairness there.
Yeah, I agree.
I still think we should go to re-tender because of just because the amounts are we have to be accountable to the public. But you're in a unpleasant situation.
Yeah. Yep. Just to speak to that, thank you for bringing that up. I guess that's part of the difference. Is this is not a tender. If it was a tender, we'd have to either re-tender but this was a request for proposal, so we have a little bit more flexibility that way. Okay. But again, there's an inherent unfairness by the exposures of the numbers. And the other thing is, if we were tendering, we would have to show a significant difference in why we were re-tendering.
Well, the budget amount from 27
that doesn't work. It's like when you re-tender something, you either cancel the tender and come back with a new tender that is somewhat different.
Okay.
Either lowering, and that's why I suggested, do we want to cut the hours in the landfill?
No. Not at all. Absolutely not. No.
Because then we could submit another RFP with lower hours, which would substantially change the intent of the.
Before we cut the hours of the landfill, we'll have town council volunteering their time up there at the weigh scale. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate that, and I prefaced my remarks by saying that I have nothing but the highest regard for our operators, and I say that again, and I appreciate that. Obviously, one would wish that when these came in before they came to council, we would be told, well, this is no contest, so we're not even going to go further. But let me clarify and make sure I understand what you said, Mr. Romenko. You were saying that the budget, the so-called budgeted amount of $27,000, is in fact what we started out paying 6 years ago plus cost of living over that period.
That's right. If you add all, if you roll back 5 years and take cost of livings, that's basically all the increases that occurred. So the dollar per hour rate and the that has only been CPI'd over the last 6 years. So in some ways, because of increased demands as well, and increased experience of the operations and that. You know, there's, I guess, if you want to call it a surcharge, or, you know, that's what the feeling is.
It's caught up to us a bit.
It's caught up to us, and in all fairness, I take a look at some of the things that our operators done over the last 6 years, which were over and above the scope of what we were. In fact, it was in the contract, and I'll give you an example. The actual bylaw enforcement of tarping, and that was not in the original contract. It's just things that the contractor did to accept. How are we going to improve the handling of waste in the community?
Councilor McCordoff.
Thank you. I think that probably paying the $48,000 is preferable to putting up fees at the landfill. Can you imagine what would happen if we did that? I think people are concerned about it already. I mean, oftentimes if you've got garden waste and that type of thing, it is free. But other things that you pay for up there, people do complain that it costs more. So I don't think we need to put that up. I would rather keep those costs down and consider paying this. Maybe we just have to bite the bullet. So my recommendation is that we go with this for now. Maybe not a 3-year term, maybe a 1-year term, and then look at it. But I'm okay with a 3-year term too.
So we didn't have a resolution on the floor?
No.
Oh,
these are all questions and comments.
Okay. So was that? Were you making a motion there?
I would make a motion that we go with option 2.
Is there a seconder?
Am I the right one? Yes, option 2.
Is there a seconder? Councilor
I will second that, and I'll speak to why I'm doing that.
Okay. Okay. Speaking to the motion, I think you.
I think I already did.
Yeah,
so
okay,
I'll let Councilor Ryan.
The seconder, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So we're this is for a 3-year term, correct?
I would go with a 3-year term, yes.
And you're asking a CPI factor to be put in there. Is there a built-in renewal, or is there a?
After 3 years, what we do is we put a 3-year option, a council 3-year option that says either at council's discretion we can either renew the contract without going back to the public RFP process, or we go back to the RFP process.
Okay, so at our option.
Yeah, at your option.
Okay, good. Well, I support this, Mr. Mayor, despite what I said before, because I think what I said before still goes. But I think that, you know, I would have to say that budgeted amount was someone dreaming in Technicolor. I mean, it seems to have no bearing in reality, and so therefore, given the track record, and given, as Mr. Romanko alluded to, some of the initiatives that have been taken by our present operator, and I see a synergy in having the same operator operate the landfill and do the waste scale. I mean, I think that there's a real dovetailing there of responsibility. So I would be prepared to do this, but I do think that we have to be in future a little more careful about our budgeting, because clearly that was the first thing that jumped out, and the fact that the one was disqualified. But I'm happy to support.
Okay, I guess after that I can't support that. I'm sorry. I think the current operators are wonderful, but I just can't see taxpayers' dollars going out at that level, and I would certainly be in favor of the retender. So, any other discussion on this? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Motion's defeated. That's what happens when you have a 4-person council. Next, Councilor Ryan.
Well, I would like to put forward the option 5, and that is that we request our current operators for an extension, and I don't know how long we need that. I guess the time in which it would take us to redo a request for proposal, and then we re-advertise.
Okay. Seconder on that motion. Councillor Plant. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's an unfortunate circumstance. I feel bad about that, but with those kind of numbers there, again, it's an unfortunate circumstance. So. Okay, the next item up is I did have my letter on there. It's the Osoyoos Lake Levels, and it's a proposed letter to the IJC. It's coming from the mayor, and I need to blow it by council to have approval to send the letter, and it's not in the minutes, so I am going to read the letter. Thank you. This is to the IJC. Dear Chair and Commissioners of the IJC, the Town of Osoyoos commends the Commission on your excellent process to date, seeking public input and gathering information for the renewal of the Osoyoos Lake operating orders. We believe that following your current course, the result will be a fair and balanced approach to lake management and a substantial improvement to the existing orders. For many reasons, the Osoyoos Lake operating orders are limited in scope. However, there is a much broader range of issues that would benefit from international coordination and cooperation. No area of Canada is more concerned about water than Osoyoos. We are a lake set in the middle of a desert, and our concerns are shared by our neighbors in the United States. Orville, Osoyoos, and the Okanagan residents throughout the valley have substantial ongoing interests and concerns about water sustainability. Much uncertainty remains about the future impacts of climate change and population growth. There are also ongoing concerns about sustaining the recovery of our salmon fishery, improving water quality, and improving management of Eurasian milfoil, which plagues lake users and has environmental impacts on both sides of the border. We believe that it would be extremely valuable to have a formal mechanism for local representation and cross-border conflict resolution under the IJC. Questions of international concern arise throughout the year and are not adequately served by annual or even semi-annual meetings of the International Osoyoos Lake Board of Control. This letter is to formally request that the International Joint Commission initiates a process to form an international watershed initiative to address top priority local issues that cannot be managed within the scope of the Osoyoos Lake orders. We understand that it may be necessary to conduct a scoping study to design and develop the IWI, and that the final result could range from a simple expansion of the Board of Control to a full independent IWI board. Whatever structure is chosen, we believe that having local representative, including First Nations, to address local concerns will complement and strengthen the existing International Osoyoos Lake Board of Control. Basically, in their report, when the IJC was here in both the Orville presentation and the Osoyoos presentation, while they were here, this was part of their initiative to look at this international water initiative, and basically to have local input into it, where we would have some input into the lake level and the why and the when and the where. That was one of the major concerns came up both in Washington State and in Osoyoos here at the hearings. So we're just going on record as saying that we support this and would like that opportunity if they see fit to deliver some form of local control. I know from Mr. Evo Teal, he's always looking for local input, and this would certainly present it for both of us. So, so this would be under the Town of Osoyoos letterhead. Council, please.
I would. Thank you. I would move that we have that letter printed and sent.
Okay. Thank you. And the seconder, Councillor Plant. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you very much. And because I had that letter, and actually it'll be taken an item off the agenda at the end of the meeting, but through that process there was another letter that came up through Lori going to the town administration on the lake level. And I would really like and this is part of the agenda package, that letter that's in there, and I would really like to have a discussion about how we get that information out to the public, and whether that involves the press or because they can be pretty friendly on this. And it came to the town, and in due time, council didn't know about it, but that's okay. But we didn't really get the message out there. It went to the Osoyoos website, but a lot of people don't look there, and we didn't get the message out. And here we went to the IJC hearings at the Best Western, and we had people complaining they almost got their boat where they couldn't get it off the lift. And those metal lifts, they only have a range of a certain amount. And so the lady was explaining, and they also explained it on the night in Orville, they almost got their boats caught on the lift when they're changing the lake elevation. So we heard about it in Orville, we heard about it in Osoyoos, and then they started lowering the lake, and her husband was coming home driving by OK Falls, and looked and saw the gates closed at the dam at OK Falls, and scurried right on home and got out there, jumped in the lake, and started moving all their gear further out and getting the boat off, and they almost went high and dry again. Well, if that happens, your boat's going to be on the rack all summer, or you're going to get a crane to come down and lift the thing off. So as part of this exercise, I think, Mr. Emanko, if we could take some direction and see how we can deal with this.
So you're looking how we can link up and get information
to the public.
To the public on when the lake. I guess everything depends on how quick we get it.
Yes.
You know, do we get it after it's done?
Yeah.
And it's too late.
They lowered it a foot in 5 days, so it had to be just dropping. And I think it creates some issues for some people. Certainly, people that have docks and things in the lake. It would be nice to be able to get that communication out there, and I don't. Yeah. We can think.
Well,
about
we can think about it like
sure.
Again, what's critical here is when we get the information and when the action starts, and you know, I guess to me, I would encourage everybody to be on our e-news, you know, and if when we get it, we put it out on e-news, and you know. Again, everything being time sensitive, as long as we're not blamed for, you know, it coming out, you know, late or something like that. But you know, we're constantly sending out various types of important information. So
right.
that could be added to our list, but people have to be connected.
Yes, they do. And I'm just going to go to the letter here, because there was something there that I thought was very good. A link has been added to the town website to the U.S. Geological Survey site, which provides up-to-the-date data on the Osoyoos Lake Levels. Now, that's the one that I log into. It emails me when we're doing flood watch in the springtime. The U.S. Geological Service, you can have them phone you every hour or email you every hour. So I do once a day, and I've got 3 locations that the U.S. Geological Service, and it's free. And it emails you an alert. So maybe if we could leave that on our town website, and then people can do their own search and log on. Or
well, I think that's part of it. Not to sound cruel, but when you're living on a lake and you have a boat in the water, I would want to be monitoring what the lake levels are.
Sure,
absolutely.
You know, I think there's an element of personal accountability there that needs to be you know, instilled in people as well.
Okay, so would we leave this U.S. Geological Survey site? Would we leave it on our website?
We
for
could,
a while?
yeah. You know, we could. There's no problem with that, and we're redesigning our website. We'll have links and that, and
okay.
if people want to, they can.
Water level,
Yeah.
and it would take you here.
Yeah.
Good. Councillor Plante?
Yeah, in that sense, almost like getting your temperature. When you go onto the website, it gives you the temperature for the day, where you could actually maybe have its own little box. It's a concern, so it should be in there. And if they're giving updates all the time, maybe it can be done periodically, where it's updated so that it shows it in the corner, like you say, something to build in maybe into the new website. But great thought on that for sure. Yeah, it needs to be there, I think.
Well, it's so great, and it emails you. When we had that little spike of rain at the end of June, long after the flood alerts were in, all of a sudden I get a notification from the U.S. Geological Survey with the new water level, because it was at one of those high marks when we were running the lake at 913. So it spiked and notified me. So maybe that's the process that'll work for us, and this will just work out. Okay, thank you. A couple of the late items that were added onto the agenda. The first one was Council's direction on the electoral boundary changes affecting our federal riding served by MP Alex Adamanenko. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The boundaries of a number of ridings are being changed as a result of the last census, and we have learned a little bit about this and about the changes that are being made, and it looks like principally Princeton will go out of our riding, and Penticton will come in, and a number of other communities in the Kootenays will be cut out of the current riding, and it would result in us being one of the largest ridings in British Columbia in terms of population, and certainly the layout of it would certainly be a little more distorted than it is now. So I would propose that we write to the BC Electoral Commission, and because they have, I think, until the end of this month or early in September to receive representations, and tell them that we are not favorable toward the changes that are being proposed, and we would request that they don't change our riding boundaries, and that if they need to make the changes, that they should undertake a more large-scale redrawing of all the federal boundaries in the province.
Mm-hmm. I think that was well stated, and that's exactly what we were looking at. These small changes, they have a lot of repercussions on people, just offices and things like that, and where your office is going to be. And now, it's currently in Castlegar. Now the office would be in Penticton. It makes quite a few differences. So and of course, you're always wondering whether they're actually dialing the party colors into there as they're doing the redistribution. So. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Councillor McCordoff. And discussion, Councillor McCordoff?
No, I totally agree with what Councillor Ryan said.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks. And again, to Councillor Ryan, another addition was the Fortis issue.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes. When Fortis came to visit Council and described their what are called smart meters, or advanced metering infrastructure project, as they call it, there were quite a number of citizens, and many of them signed a petition. Some 80 people signed a petition, and there were other letters received in which people expressed concerns around these meters and the waves that the radio waves that they put out and so on. Council at that time wrote to Fortis itself and said that we couldn't support it. We thought it was something between them and their customers, and we also felt that there should be an opt-out for those that had grave concerns about the health risks involved in these meters. And we also noted that we thought some time of use information would be really valuable to receive through from Fortis or through any sort of upgrades to the meters that they might have. We now have an opportunity, because there's been a formal application to the BC Utilities Commission, and we have an opportunity to state our position to the Commission. We also have another opportunity, and that is to request a community public input session in our community. And so I would propose that Council go on record and tell the BC Utilities Commission, first of all, that we would like to register as an interested party, and that would identify our interest and would enable us to make comments and post them on the website and receive other information that is happening in this public hearing. And secondly, that we tell them that we would very much support a community public input session in our area, and that we do have concerns, and our citizens have concerns around the meters themselves, and about the necessity of having some sort of opportunity to opt out of having such a meter. Great.
Did we mention that time and time of day service?
Oh, and we should say the time of day service too, yes. I mentioned it earlier on when I talked about what we had sent, but yes, I think we should incorporate all of those those points into our communication. And that communication is needed by September the 7th.
Right. Okay. Any further discussion on that? I think that's going to work for everybody that we've heard in the town, and that the opt-out was one of the main ones that we heard people in town, and it allows us to move this forward without getting embroiled in the EMF question and things like that, and the cell phone power questions and all those issues that are out there. We'll let the people make up their own minds on that. So any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Councillor Ryan. That was well done on short notice. Thank you. So that the item that was number 9, I believe, I actually dealt with under the letter to the IJC. So that item is off the agenda, and brings the next item up is the general Sun Bowl and payroll accounts. The general fund, $2,428,558.34. Sun Bowl in the amount of $10,336.73, and payroll accounts in the amount of $151,892,000.52. They would be to approve, and for the payroll accounts to receive for information. Any discussion on that? That would be adopted. Oh, I'm not going to adopt it by consensus. Councillor Ryan.
Oh, no, I think you'll still get your consensus, but I just wanted to say for the public that when I and I think some of the other councillors read this and we saw almost 2.5 million, we said, ooh, is that something we overlooked in the past? Is that what happens when you take 4 weeks off? So it turns out that we have been advised, not in the formal one, but subsequently, that this represents about 1.5 million, 1.6 million represents us transferring to the other levels of government, the regional district, the school district, the RCMP, the BC Assessment Authority, the Municipal Finance Authority, all the things that we collect for them. So we were collecting it in trust, and now we're giving it back to them. And additionally, there were some 470,000, which is a little more palatable, of expenses that are our own.
Okay. And good watchdog eye, Councillor Ryan. No further discussion, those can be adopted by consensus. Thanks, Councillor Ryan. The next item up is the building permit report. I see a new house going up there. That's great, $348,000, be a nice addition to that street. And I'm sure the owners are going to enjoy it. Back on family property there. Let me just get my agenda here. That's down to the building, down to the committee reports. No committee reports. There are some minutes to be adopted from the Waterfront Steering Committee to be received. I don't need a motion to receive on that. They'll be received by consensus. Thank you. And that would bring us to the councillor reports, and the first one is CAO Remenko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just a few items that the administration has been involved in over the since the last meeting. Many of the staff have taken this opportunity in the last month to take a couple of weeks vacation. So, but there's still things happening. So, just to give you an update, starting in community services, one of the things that's highlighting is the renovations from the flood are almost complete. The flooring is done and most of the painting, and they should be fully restored in the next couple of weeks. Best ever referee camp and ringette camp are done. Audrey Bakewell is in the progress this week at the Sun Bowl and is almost at full capacity for her skating school. The draft leisure guide will be coming out by Wednesday for review. In corporate services, been working with property insurers to complete risk assessments and appraisals on town facilities, following up on flood claims on 85th Street. Organized the first bar watch meeting with the RCMP. That'll be held on with the RCMP and liquor establishments. That next meeting will be September 6th. Spent numerous hours working with bylaw enforcement and RCMP with dealing with all kinds of parks issues and other matters. Responded to a 6 a.m. Saturday emergency victim service request to assist with the care of a fire victim. In terms of finance, working on engineer services assessment, remitting taxes to other taxing authorities, sending out notices to remaining phases of the Northwest Sector Sanitary Sewer Project to allow connections, and working with KPMG on audit of gas tax funds. For myself, just a few of the highlights, following up on some resort municipality funding issue resolutions. Also, planning council's business planning update and the planning session, dealing with some Spartan Drive construction issues and review of the organizational review implementation strategy. So those are just a few of the things that are happening right now.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's been an incredibly busy summer. So Councillor McCordoff, please.
Thank you. Yeah, there are certainly lots of things that have happened in Osoyoos in the last month, and one of the major ones that I want to talk about today are the home hardware street dances. After 26 years, the Home Hardware has put an ad in the paper last week saying that they're now finished. They're not going to do it anymore. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Francis and Larry Solijuk, plus all of the staff at Home Hardware, past and present, who volunteer many, many hours to put on these street dances. I don't know what's going to happen. People have, for the last many years, booked their holidays around coming to Osoyoos, and when you go to the street dance, and Francis asks who is from, they're from all over Alberta, all over British Columbia, and young people, grandmothers, mums, dads, they all get out there. It's the same music. Larry puts them on, the bird dance and the Macarena, been going for 26 years, but it's what people love to come. And lots and lots of people in the community take part in this. I have to also commend Tom Shields, who has been up on the platform. Anytime I've ever been to a street dance, Tom Shields has been there. So I would just like to say a huge thank you from the town to Francis and Larry for doing this for so long, and hopefully, you know, somebody else might decide decide to take this on or put it in a different format, but we will miss it, and nobody more so than employee Tony, who from Home Hardware, who absolutely loved this. So thank you to Home Hardware.
Thanks, Councillor McCordoff. That's your report?
Yes, it is.
Okay, and just to add on that, and what an addition it's been to the town. There is an opportunity out there for, you know, there's a sadness, there's an end, but there's a beginning too. So there's an opportunity out there to take this and run with it. So if someone's got some great ideas, certainly now is the time to step forward. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be equally brief. I wanted to congratulate Cassie, the Community Action for Seniors Independence, for a very successful Osoyoos Idol competition this past Monday, and I happened to be playing lawn bowling at the time, and I tell you, the performers sounded pretty professional to me. They were just wonderful. And so they a great cause and a wonderful event. I also want to congratulate the Friends of the Library, and our representative Councillor McCordoff has jumped into that organization with both feet and was lifting books and selling books and arranging books and doing more than her share. They had a very successful event in conjunction with the farmers market, and that was I guess last Saturday. And I want to thank not only the volunteers but also all the people who donated books and all the people who purchased books. I think that the group raised nearly a kind of a record amount, and it was $867, and that goes toward library enhancement. They've purchased weekly newspapers in both English and Punjabi. They've gotten several pieces of furniture for the library, including the children's section. So all kinds of little things that wouldn't normally be within the budget of the library are provided through their volunteer effort and the funds they raise. And I've also had a lot of comment from residents about how the parks have improved and how pleasant it is to go there now with that increased enforcement that we've had.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Wright. Councillor Plant.
Thank you, Mayor. I am also going to be brief. The last couple of weeks I've been fairly busy with business in the tourism sector. So actually I'm going to send a congratulations out to some of the local wineries. A Dagon 45th, that's Fred and Pam Farina. Pam has been the manager at Shoppers Drug Mart for 25 years. They've had a dream to open a winery, and this has been their first full summer, and they've been very successful, and I've had the opportunity to bring many groups there, so congratulations to them. Young and Wise, so Michelle Young and Stephen Wise, and Stephen Wise is the son of Jim, and Midge Wise, he was up at Burrowing Owl for 10 years, and they branched off and have done this. I think this is their third full season there, but they've been having a very successful year, and I wish them all the best as they continue, and they've been great support for people that are coming in here and doing tours, and they have an Osoyoos address, so it's nice. Moon Cursor, which used to be Twisted Tree, and that's the Tolley family, obviously Incomeep Cellars, and even La Stella on there. So I just wanted to say thank you to all of them for creating an experience for the people that have come here and visited this summer and that continue to come and visit. And that's my report. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Councillor Plant. Again, I'm going to keep my report short. I guess the big part for it, and everyone's aware of it, is that salmon run out there in the Osoyoos Lake, living right above the boat launch. You have no idea the amount of activity, and it starts at about 5:30 in the morning now. There's when you get up and look out the window, all the ramps are wet and the boats are there, and people are already coming back in. People are coming back in by 6:30. They've got their allotment of fish. 2 guys in the boat, 2 each, and the fish are so far they're just in excellent shape. I think we've had about 4 of them in our house, and they're in great shape. Just real nice sockeye salmon. So that's been a real bonus. And I know that I understand there's a bit of a marketing pitch being done right now by Watermark and the Osoyoos Indian Band, Spirit Ridge are sort of banding together and promoting this. And if this is going to be a regular occurrence, I think it's just a great opportunity. On that note, with that salmon and with the ones that are coming, there are a few dead salmon around the lake. So if you happen to hear those reports, I've been receiving them at home. People have phoned. They're quite concerned. They seem to be mostly in that central pond, which would be the north side of Haynes Point to the bridge. And of course, there's a real depth challenge in that central area. It's quite small, and with the lake, with the temperature we've had, salmon have a really hard time at about 21 degrees. They're basically shutting down. So, and you know, those fish have come from the Pacific, and it's been a long journey, and some of them are not all going to make it up to the spawning beds and grounds and everything. So there are going to be some fish out there. So it's not to be alarmed. You don't have to phone the Ministry of the Environment. It's a bit of a natural process for the salmon run. Also in the paper, there's been an ad in the paper, and I know it's on the town website, about the alternate approval process, which is looking to probably borrow I don't have the exact numbers with me, but $280,000. And what that's going to do is over on Cottonwood, where we have the new traffic light, when you first go in there, and it's a heavily congested area with foot traffic, and there's no curbs, there's no sidewalks, there's no gutters, and normally when we start doing some of these projects, we can find some funding from other areas. And a lot of it would be new construction or development or things like that. And in this case here, we've got all the parks over there, we've got the public beach and the pub and everything happening there, and it's just a real safety issue is truly what it is. So what that money is going to do is bring that. We do have some reserve funding. There's an explanation of it on the Osoyoos website. But we're going to actually, there's an alternate approval process. 10% of the electorate comes out and says no, then we would have to go to a plebiscite, to a referendum to get that approval. So do have a look at it. We don't do it very often. I believe it's on the average house assessment, it's $4.75. Is what that's going to cost. I think it's money well spent, because now it'll just clean that whole area up before we do have an accident. It's actually quite a zoo over there if you happen to be there when everything's going on at the same time in the summer. So I think it'll be well needed, and you can see that, and there is references to it. There's been ads in the paper, and we had to advertise 2 weeks in a row and all those legal obligations. So that's what that's all about. It's been very busy. Last year I managed to sneak some days off here and there, and I haven't been quite so lucky this year. But I think there might be an opportunity coming here. I'm away on the weekend to a wedding in Vancouver. So being busy, having fun. It's been a great summer. The tourists have been enjoying it. Mr. Romanko?
I was just going to try and get your attention to give me one more crack before you close down.
Okay. And I actually have a question. And it's a process question, and I see there's a couple of resolutions that were being brought out of in camera.
From this morning?
From the 26th. And they're on my bookmarks. And one of them is the additional funding for RCMP and bylaw enforcement to a maximum of $10,000, which we did.
Yeah.
But it's over here in my bookmarks.
I think we had 2 agendas that went out, and those probably should have been included as information in the early as Part C. Resolutions coming out of in camera.
Okay.
They should have been included as that.
Okay.
And yeah.
Okay, no, that's great. And this came out of an in-camera meeting. I brought it out on the table now. This came up from an in-camera meeting where we sat down with our bylaw officer and Sergeant Kevin Schur from the RCMP and looked at the issues that we were going through. This was back in July, and we did bring forward some more funding, both for our bylaw enforcement and paying some extra money to the RCMP for their backup. And with that money, we got sole use of the RCMP, and they did the work that was required by the town of Osoyoos, and it was very successful. Mr. Remenko.
We can just add to that that the funding for that came out of the resort municipality funds.
Oh, wonderful.
We were using resort municipality funds for that, not general revenues.
Oh, that even makes it better. Thank you, Mr. Remenko. Okay, and the other one was the legal opinion conflict of interest, which Councillor Plant addressed at the start of the meeting. Now, your final kick at the can.
My final kick at the cat was that I was only on one page, and I forgot this other one, in that I wanted to inform council that the washrooms are nearly complete. All things considered, Gyro Park and Goodman Park washrooms will be open next week. Wow. We're just waiting for coating, the anti-graffiti coating to be placed on the gyro on them, and also the we have to do a non-slip concrete floor sealer, and we're waiting for the contractors to complete those. So other than that, they will be in operation, and the marina building will keep closed for a while because we need to do a bunch of landscaping around there. Okay. And so that's tied into the V-Line contract that's working on Spartan Drive. So but that was something I wanted to add to the news.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And indeed, that is good news. Those washrooms are going to be a great welcome addition. And rumor has it that somebody wants to open the concession stand. Oh. And I'm going, well, that would be nice. Now that's street rumors, so we'll just leave it there for now. Maybe when we get an application or something, we'll get really excited.
Well, we will be going to for a request for proposal. But I don't think that we'll be doing it this year, though.
Okay.
But certainly that's on my list in terms of the business plan for next year, is to do a request for proposal on that.
Okay, wonderful. Anything else from council? Hearing none. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Ryan, Councillor Plant. All in favor? We're adjourned. Good afternoon.